Hello and welcome to the Kerbal Space Program tutorial series. This little series is basically going to be a early how to play the game. So it's going to be basic controls, how to dock out, you know, all the normal flight stuff you have to know to play the game. Start the game, and I'm just going to show you some of the very quick menu stuff before we jump right into the controls. So first of all, we have three game types. Career mode is just as it says, it's a career. You have very little parts, very little money. You do contracts to get more money to buy more parts and do research. Science is exactly the same as career, except there is no money. It's purely based on science. It's a pure science goal. And Sandbox, which we're going to be working in today, is It's basically a complete sandbox. You have every part, everything, no limits, no nothing. And then of course you've got your difficulties, which you can say, I want to allow this, I want to allow that, and don't want this, and don't want that. So it's play around with it basically. Very simple, and you can pick your own flag. Do we have a flag in this version? We do not have a flag in this version. Well, we'll leave it with the standard flag then. And begin. Okay, thank you, Gene Kerman. Thank you. Right, so we're going to the controls. So the very first thing we've got to do for controls is we have to get in there and have some. Now we'll start with airplanes, because airplanes are relatively simple. Thank you. Airplanes are relatively simple little things, and we can fly them and play around with them and whatnot. So let's go with the... I don't really play with their ships that often, so we'll save that one. Let's have a look. It looks like a moderately decent plane. Okay, let's launch it, and we'll show you how to fly it. So I have a few mods installed which are purely there for visuals, and I will explain them, and I recommend them, and say why I recommend them as well. Okay, so immediately on the ground, we have the screen. So we have up here, we have the altimeter, 70 meters above the ground. Let's just apply the brakes, which is that button there. Also B on the keyboard, that's B for Bravo. To apply the brakes as well. There we go. We have here, we have the atmosphere. So what you can see here, the light blue section is thick atmosphere. The medium blue is thinner atmosphere. The darker blue is thin atmosphere. And up here you got space. So the higher you go, the faster you can go, and the lower you go, the slower you go. But it also means heat during re-entry and flight. So watch out for that. This is also your vertical ascent and descent. So you can see how high you're going, low you're going. Over here we have time warp, so we can say I want to go faster than real time. So it's good for going between planets and flying far distances, but you don't really need it for anything else. Over the top right corner we have, ignore these two, these are the mods I've got installed for different reasons, but here we have your resource. Now if you just, because it'll flash, but if you click on it, it'll stay forever until you click it again. And it's very, very useful to see what kind of fuel you've got around to work with. So it's always nice to see how much fuel you have. Bottom right corner you have your Jebediah Kerman. IVA is internal, EVA is external, which pops him out into his little chute. We have the nav ball, which is very, very simple. We'll go over the nav ball in a little bit about what the controls on that do. On this side we have throttle, which is controlled by the control key for throttling down, the shift key for throttling up, the X key for cutting the throttle entirely, and the Z key for maximum throttle. Okay, on the other side we have the G meter, which doesn't really have any effect in the game, but it's nice to see it. And now we get to this section here. This section is very important. This is staging. This is the order that engines and other things will be fired on, and you can move them around by just clicking and dragging stuff. Here we have what stage you're currently on. You're currently on stage 1, which is this one. If you press space, which is the activate stage button, we activate stage 1. Stage 1, the number 1 there. Then it'll go down to 0 and... We have the pitch, and so if we press S, we can pitch up, and W to pitch down. We've got D to yaw to the right, A to yaw to the left, E is roll, and Q is roll. So we've got all the control stuff. Now you'll also notice that the back of the plane is wobbling a little bit. Look, flaps up, flaps down. So each of these buttons does something. So let's get this plane in the air, and we'll show you how the basic controls work, okay? So, spacebar to start it. There goes the engines, throttle into full, brakes off, we've just tapped the B. And here we go. T for tango is stability assist, is very useful to have that on. Let's just nose this plane up a little bit, there we go. Up, up, up. Gear in with G, go for gear. Golf, that's the one. And the plane is now in the air. Excellent. Now, first thing, we get these white lines. These mean we're going supersonic. We're going way, way too fast. So let's just throttle down a bit. About a third throttle should do us here. And our speed is still increasing quite dramatically because jet engines take a little time to spin down. But we don't care about that. Let's just kill the engine entirely for a minute. I need to have control. There we go. Back to a quarter should do us. Ooh, maybe not. Maybe this is a powerful plane. Okay, so let's just let that plane do what it's going to do. Now let's get that cameras behind. We can press C to go to cockpit mode or out of cockpit mode. So that's Charlie. And V for Victor lets us change this camera mode. We're in free camera, chase, locked, auto. And there are orbitals as well. So auto will try and do its best. You place it like that, and if you do a maneuver, the plane or whatever will move freely. Okay, if we move the camera to free, we can place the camera wherever we want, and the plane will move freely. So it's a bit like auto, except auto will adjust a little bit. Then we got chase. Now chase is actually very useful. Chase, if you place the camera behind on chase, like that, and then roll the plane over, and pull up, the camera will go and follow the point where the plane is travelling. So if I do that, the camera will try and follow, which is excellent. Now let's just turn her up, there we go. Just nose up a little bit, there we go. Thank you. Now if we go to locked, now locked, I find locked extremely useful for landing. Now think about locked, if I go roll, the whole world rolls. Let's get a bit more throttle on this engine, please. Thank you. But this one I find it's very, very useful for landing purposes. It is very, very good for that. Now, get his nose up in the air a bit. Thank you. Now you notice I'm turning the camera around. To do that with the mouse, you right-click and drag controls. Hey. You can also use the cursor keys on the keyboard. Just the normal arrow keys will do it as well, but they're not quite as accurate, so I prefer that. Okay. Basic rules when landing an airplane is you want to be going slow to land but fast to go. Look at the altitude. We are now dropping at around 20 meters per second. Altitude is 1400, and the nav ball here, if you notice, let's just turn around this way, has this yellow marker. Now the yellow marker is where we are heading, and this line with the dot is where we are actually pointing. So right now we are trying to turn ourselves a little bit. Turn. There we go. And you can see it's got the yellow one that lags behind. If I put myself right on the horizon, there, the yellow one's actually going below, and we are dropping quite dramatically. So, you know, always try to keep yourself going up unless you want to go down. It's always useful. Now, the plane is flying quite stable. If I press F, I can toggle the stability control off, and when I let go, it turns it back on again. Useful for, I want to make a quick adjustment. T for Tango turns it on and off as a toggle, and R turns on the RCS, which is used later on for airplanes so much. Just throttle down a bit with the control key, just to keep yourself going too fast. And if we have a look underneath the plane, you see the wheels are all tucked in. G for golf, or this button here, lowers the gear. Excellent for landing. We also have this button up here, lights, which I believe is U. Yep, turns on the lights underneath, which the landing gear has. And you can also add landing gear as well. Let's just, I'm not going to go for the runway, I just want to sort of put this plane down on the ground to show you landing, and then do stuff. But, here's what we're going to do. If we press E, we can roll the plane over, and Q to stop the roll. So that's just, basic flight controls are relatively simple. Let's just glide this plane in. I'm using the locked cam at the moment, because I do, like I said before, I do prefer the locked cam for landing purposes. So let's bring this plane down. Now, very quickly, for landing an airplane, you want to be going relatively slow, but not so slow that you stall. So I'm just going to bring the plane down fairly rapidly. This is not recommended doing this like this, because I'm just doing it just to get the gun on the ground. And then I actually get near the ground. Notice we're doing 145. That's way too fast. So we're going to bring the nose up. And if you notice, the speed is dropping fairly rapidly. We are actually climbing right now, but that's actually desirable, just to bleed off a bit of speed. Now I'm going to also do this. This is just a flying thing. A hard turn will drop loads of speed really, really quickly. And you notice, see the ground below us now? There we go. Okay, perfect. Let's bring this plane in to land. Nose up. And hit the ground quite hard. And now we're rolling. We are rolling at 60 meters per second. We apply the brakes with B. And the speed is dropping very, very rapidly. There we go. And we have come to a stop. Now notice as soon as I let go of B, the brakes are being actually disengaged. Click them to toggle them. Press the button on the keyboard to have them active only for short times. Now I hope those controls are very simple for you, but I will go through them one more time. So S pitches up, so your nose will go up in the air. W pitches down, so you'll go down. D moves the tail piece, which is here, for moving your nose to the right. A will move it to the left. Here. Q will raise your flaps. So Q will actually send you rolling to your left. E will roll you to your right. So they're very useful for just doing maneuvers in the air. That's quite a useful thing. The final thing you'll notice is when you're on the ground, if you press the D and A keys, the wheel will turn because airplanes can taxi on their own ways. Very, very useful little tactic. So that's very basic airplane stuff. So when landing, you want to land with your nose in the air. So the back end of the plane is down, and you come into a land on a nice soft runway. Not so high that you bang your engines and break them, but bleed off as much speed as you can before you hit the runway. And then when you hit the runway, sort of stall onto it, or just run onto it, then apply your brakes. But the controls are relatively simple. Let's just throttle this plane up to full. Release the brakes. There we go, and nose up. And gear in. And there we go. That is basic airplane controls. And up we go. Yeah. Okay, so just one last quick thing. There we go. If we do this like this, let's just switch camera to 3. I like 3 for this bit, what I'm going to be doing now. So controls are up with S, down with W, left with A, right, okay, and we stall a little bit there. Roll over with Q and A, and then nose up again. There we go. And then D for right. And there we go. So those are your basic flight controls. Also, a nice little control, what people do know is press F2, all the graphical things go away, and you can just do what you want to do. Yes, F1 is screenshot, by the way. Alright, so let's move on to rockets. Okay, so rockets. Rockets are built in the vehicle assembly building, which is here. There's a nice big building in the middle. It will also, in career mode, you get smaller buildings to start with, so you get the idea. Alright, so rockets, very simple. I'm not going to use my own build, I'm going to actually use the stock one so you can actually see a rough one. So let's have a look at the Kerbal X, which is a relatively, actually no, there is a small one I want to choose. The Z map satellite, perfect. There it is, a nice little rocket, perfect for testing what we're going to be doing here. Okay, so let's put it onto the pad. You see the staging order here, light the engine, fire the release clamps, burn some extra engines, all the stages are there. They're very important, but they're about the building process. So controls. Now the thing about the controls is they have the same controls that the airplanes use. There's no difference to the controls, so all the normal controls, if you look at the bottom left corner, you can see all the little bits move around, exactly the same. The difference being how you get to space. So this episode is obviously not about getting to space, it's purely about the controls and how they work. Now, I will go into more depth on certain things like how to get to orbit and how to dock ships and stuff, but let's just get the control. So with all rocket engines, rule number 1, full throttle. Always max full throttle, because no point having a rocket engine powering at half. Second thing, SAS. SAS is your friend. It will make you, when you point a rocket up and you say, oh, turn a bit, you turn it that way, it will hold it at that angle. Without SAS, it'll just go going and going and going, and then you're not going to have you're not going to go to space, basically. Now, let's get this thing into space, and we'll show you how we can do other stuff. Now, first of all, it's spacebar to trigger the next stage. The first one will light the engine, the second one will release the clamps, unlike the 2 little engines on the side. So, engine, and release the clamps. And up we go. Now, if we just roll it over a little bit, just a little bit, there we go. You can see I'm using the D key to roll it over a little bit each time, and the craft does actually roll a little bit, just a little bit, there we go. We are going a little bit fast, so I'm going to throttle back on the engine, because if we can't do it too fast, so just watch out for that. Here we go, and press spacebar in a second, drop these little side engines when they burn out. Spacebar, and they drop away. See? Fall away. Now, this rocket is a nice little rocket. It's perfect for what you do. It's got stable fins at the back and things at the front and all that kind of nice fancy stuff. We're just going to roll this over and get it into a nice orbit. Control button space. Now, the thing about the keys out, the SAS is toggled on. I can just tap the D key and just keep it rolling a little bit. And it'll let go now, and the craft is flying itself, basically. So we're just going to leave it alone, and it'll go all the way where we need to go. And then when we get there, we can just do more tapping on the keys. Always a useful little feature. So, let's get this thing into space, and we'll show you something else. Actually, no, let's not. This craft will do what I want to do for this test. So let's get this craft up. As it's going now, just tip it up a bit more. Here we go. So, this craft is just, it's all about controls. You can see the engine sort of flipping around as I press the buttons on it. So it's a nice and useful little thing. And what you want to do, a bit of shock heating now, because we are going pretty fast in the low atmosphere, but it's not a problem for us right now. Now you'll notice that this craft has a whole bunch of stuff on here. You can right click on the tank and see how much fuel is left in it. Same as doing up here, except you get only that one tank worth of fuel, which is very, very useful. Same thing on the engine, by the way. If you right click on the engine, you can say I want to throttle the engine down or throttle the engine up to maximum instead of using this dial, which I don't recommend for liquid engines, but very, very useful for solid engines when you're building them. Let's just roll this craft over a bit more onto the horizon. I will explain why I'm doing that in the get into orbit episode, which I'm going to do. But there we go. Right, with that, it's now run out of fuel. We can actually confirm that by clicking on the engine, saying yeah, nothing there, and also on the engine itself it says flame out, oxidizer deprived. Because of that, we press space, we separate the bit we don't want from the bit we do want, and press space again, and off we go! Like I said, this is about controlling, so I'm going to actually just kill the engine right now, and say, if you right click on the little knobby bit there, which is actually a commutron, it's an aerial, we can say, extend, and it will actually open up. So we can do commands like do stuff, which are very, very useful. With these little tiny ones on the end here, which we can say extend, and they can go that as well. You see? And if pressing number 1 actually toggles them because it's being bound by controls. So the different action groups, they are your numbers 1 to 10, basically on your keyboard. You do those during the building process, which we'll go over in maybe an advanced build. I don't know, maybe, possibly. But let me know if you want to see that. But there we go. Now, every part is an option. You right click and see fuel levels, and you can right click and these little buttons here, by the way, if I turn if I tick them, just that one, just the top one. If I throttle the engine up, notice how it burnt all the fuel there, but we didn't burn any of the liquid fuel. It's been turned off. That's very useful for, I want to maintain fuel in this tank, but not in all the other tanks. Okay, so rocket flight is the same. You can nose that way, you can nose that way. See, and we can go up and down, and they all work just the same. Yep. And the roll, obviously Q and E, they work the same. But you do need, in space you'll need some kind of reaction system. For example, if I kill the engine, I can't turn this craft. You see the nozzle bouncing around? I have no control for turning. If I turn the engine on just a little bit, I gain that control that I want. Because in space, there's no flaps like your airplanes have. You have to have an engine burning, or a reaction wheel spinning, or a bunch of RCS, which are little thrusters that sit around the outside and maneuver you around. But that's your basic controls for rockets. Now there is one more thing I want to show you, which is the lateral thrust little rocket thing. So if we just drop into another craft, but I'm going to do this one very quickly. If we pop a probe, you'll do fine. Hello, you. Right, if we go you, and we say, give me command and control. Okay, so these are first. We're not going to too much into the build, but if I say, give me fuel tanks, give me an RCS tank, and we'll put it there. give me command and control, little RCS thrusters. Give me 4 of them should do what I want to do. There. And put me some on the top there. And also some on the bottom there. Perfect. That'll do what I'm wanting to do. And the next thing I want to do is say, give me power. I need power. Power. Where's the RTG? There it is. Thank you. Put that on the bottom just to maintain a bit of weight balancing there. Ooh, can I have... I don't want too many of them, so I'll just have 2. Just to maintain the balance. And... oh, there we go. Perfect. Alright, let's pop this on the pad. It does look a bit derpy, but it does what we wanted to do. It is show you one final piece of how these things work, how these things move. And that is actually the docking procedure. Now, docking procedure is a little bit different to normal, but because it's on ground, it can't actually do anything. This is way too big and heavy and it won't move. Okay, so notice that the normal roll controls aren't working. This craft has no maneuvering. It's just a little space tug thingy. Now, the way it's going to work is if I press T for reaction control and R, you see these little icons. That's SAS for which T, and R for Romeo. Turn on the RCS. If I press any buttons now, you'll see these little lights. Well, not lights. Actually, it's moving around basically. It couldn't move before. And it's actually firing little gas out of these nozzles and using this little tank of monoprop, which is monopropellant. Okay, so first thing, if we use a different set of keys this time, these keys are I, K, L, J, H, and N. So that's November, Hotel, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Indigo. So those are the keys that are used for lateral movement during docking process. It's mostly used during docking. It's very rare you use it any other time unless you're doing a rendezvous in space. But even then, chances are you're going to be docking. So, chances are. Now, the way this works, if we just quickly press press Alt F12, bring up the debug menu, we can turn hack gravity. I refer to this as the simulator because it turns the gravity on the Kerbin down to the very, very low gravity you get on Minmus. That means if we were to press, say, H, that craft that was really heavy and couldn't move before, well, now it's floating. You see? And now what we can do, we can say, okay, if we press J, we can go that way. And we can keep pressing H, just keep our height up. And we say, okay, we've gone far enough, let's press L, and we'll slow ourselves down that way. And you see the little thrusters are firing off. Then we say, okay, how about I, we'll go over there. And then now we're over a bit, we say, okay, we'll press K, we'll fire the thrusters in the other direction, slow ourselves down. There we go. And now we're slowed down, we can turn around and say, okay, we're going to put it on the ground, so let's do slow that way. There we go. And then bring it down with N, and then bring it near the ground. We'll just press H to slow it down a bit, and then boop, and then hold it down on the ground. There we go. So as you see, the lateral thrusters using the H, N, J, K, L, and I are all about moving around in a three-dimensional space. So the actual WASD, they're all about rolling you around. Okay? But the actual other keys on the other side of the keyboard, they're all about moving you physically in a three-dimensional point. So if you use the WASD QE, you'll move around like that. Okay? If you use the HN, you'll go up and down. You use the JL, you'll go side to side, and the IK, you'll go forward and backwards. Which, as you can imagine, can be very useful when you've got a craft there and a craft there and you want to dock together. If you're coming in like that, you just roll it to the level, bring it down, and dock them together. Okay, so what we can do, for example, we can say we want to put this on there. So if I said, give me... I like to change my camera to locked in this case. Whoop. Which apparently is upside down. Okay. Let's just see. Forward. Okay, I don't like that. Okay, wrong camera key. Let's go to chase. probably just as bad actually for what I want. Perfect. Okay, rotate the cat. Rotate that way. So I'm just finding a little thruster to rotate it. I'm going to point it at the VAB, which is the basic goal of every space program, is can you land it on the VAB? So we use the H key to take off. We use the I key to go forward. And then we'll just let it go. Whoop. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. That is just annoying me already. Stop it. Stop it. Ah! Okay. Then we just use these keys on the roll, WASD, just to keep the balance level. Let's put the T back on, because I did actually turn it off by accident. Well, it wasn't by accident, I did it purposely, but, you know. And we just fly it over to the VAB. So because this is basically like a simulator, we can play with all the nice gadgety stuff. So we use a bit of fuel. I'm going to bring the fuel gauge up. There we are. So you see the model prop is sort of, you see how it's sort of flickering? That's because it is actually being used right now by the craft, because SAS is on, to stabilize and keep everything moving fine. So I'm just going to move over that way a bit. There we go. And that way a bit, there we go. And we're just going to bring it in. We are moving, if we look at the surface speed on the nav ball, we're doing 9.7 meters per second. So we are moving fairly rapidly. And we are moving up as well at 20, well, minus something. It's very slow. But okay, we're going to start to slow down now, pressing K. We are losing speed fairly rapidly, which is good, actually, for what we want. I'm going to beat it down a bit. I'm going to land it on these little helipads. So this is just a standard, how do I land a craft on the VAB? Well, obviously you normally use rocket engines, but you can do it with just a simple helipad style. Just, beep, beep, beep. There we go. Okay, bring it down. Keep an eye on the shadow. Shadow is extremely useful for landing, by the way, because it lets you know exactly how high you are. And then pop it down the ground. And boop. There we go. Okay, so we have landed. Now, some of the controls you might be interested in are these little ones down here. These are all SAS based controls, and they're very useful. Stability assist just means that when I press go forward, it won't roll. You have nothing on that one. I'll explain those when we get to the rest of the spaceship. But that's our little guy. He's very useful for docking. Yeah, so remember the keys. H, N, J, L, K, and I. Very, very useful for docking purposes. Of course, it wouldn't be a Kerbal Space Program if we didn't just do a little bit of explosion. So if we roll it back onto its back end and press H, we just send it going that way. So it's rocket powered. Alright, now when it's over here, we can just go Alt F12 and we can unhack the gravity. And now full gravity is in effect. And we get a nice little explosion. And I will point out, you will have many, many explosions. Kerbal Space Program is all about the explosions. Anyway, so that is your basic controls. Docking is very, very simple. The only way docking works is, let me just switch to a larger camera. Boop, there we go. Okay, so the way docking works is you have a ship and you have another ship, and they usually come in at different angles. So the way you would do that, the first thing you do is you would roll the ship so they have the same angle, but they're not facing, not actually pointing at each other. Don't point them at each other because it won't work. You want them pointing in the same, in opposite directions, so they're pointing towards each other. Then you just move that one down, the one you're controlling, move down so it has the same height. But then when you look at them side on, they're not lined up, so you bring them across. And when they're lined up in all directions, where they're pointing at each other, and they're in the same height, altitude, and they're in the same latitude, and everything's perfect, and even the roll is even corrected, if you want to do that, it's optional, some people do, then, and only then, do you move them closer together. And when they get close enough, magnets will kick in, and they'll lock to each other. Now, the benefit of this is, most people make the mistake of trying to go, oh, we're coming in, we're bringing them in diagonally, we'll do that. That's a mistake. Don't try to do that. You really should be focusing on trying to get the craft one side fixed first, stop, do the next direction, stop, do the next direction, stop, moving close, stop, check, everything's fine, get closer and dock. One thing at a time. That is the best way to do it, and that is all there really is to it. Now that is the basic controls of a craft. Now there are some other controls which I'm going to go into as well because it's important. And those are... let's launch that. The other craft we're going to do, which are very important, is some maneuvering nodes. I'll go into those as well now, because they are part of the control system as far as I'm aware. As far as I care, should I say. But the actual maneuver nodes, they are... they're very important, and where's the... Kerbal X, there we are. They are very important, and they are one of those things that you just need to use. Don't be afraid of them, use them. I'll go into more depth on what they are and how they work later on, but they're very, very helpful, very, very friendly, and you really should use them if you can. Okay, so what we have in space right now, we have this tiny little probe. It's not a probe, it's a little landing craft. This little guy is actually the last stage of a Kerbal X. Now the Kerbal X is just a craft that you get, it's a stock craft. It's actually designed to go to the moon, land, and bring you people back. So, if you want to try it, there is a craft in there called Kerbal X. It is designed for moon landing. This is this part here. It's purposely designed by a squad for that job. It's just there to sort of teach you how to fly and get to places. I personally find there are better crafts you can use, but this is one that they start you with. Now we're in space. We can do some other little bits. First of all, on this stage, you have this little green bar. This is your fuel, just so you know. I did forget to mention it earlier. Now, also, when you're in docking mode and you're trying to dock something, you have this docking mode here. This actually converts the WASD into the other keys I gave you. So it's also useful if you don't want to learn the other keys, you can just switch docking mode. But we're here for two other reasons. We're here today to talk about these. So we have prograde, which is what we're facing now, which is where your ship is facing the way it is travelling. Retrograde. Whee! When the ship is facing away from the direction it is travelling. So, if we fly the engine now, we will slow down, and that will bring us into a landing. Or crash, depending on the ship. Nominal and anti-nominal. Now, nominal, which is what spin around, means point me towards the north pole of the body I am currently orbiting. That could be Kerbin, it could be the moon, it could be the sun, which is Kerbal, in case some people are wondering. And that's what it does, it points us north. Now, if you do that, it will actually increase your inclination northwards, and I'll talk about inclinations in just a moment, but that's what that is. We also have radial and anti-radial. Now, radial means point me away from whatever. So right now, the planet is directly below. On anti-radial, we're pointing directly towards the planet. So these all have different things. Now you could just put on. I normally use stability assist and use my computer to point at my keys. But I've been playing the game for a long while and I can do it very easily. It can be useful just to let the computer do it for you in some circumstances. But there is one part that you just really need to work on and need to learn. So I'm just going to show you a little tweak on how to do it. But we're going to do into more advanced stuff later on, like docking and the rendezvous and going to planets. So we press M for map. M brings you into the map view. Welcome to the map view. It's a very important place. Now, a little shortcut key. You can fly the craft from in here, but you can't see anything. So how do you fly the craft? I mean, cursor keys, by the way, move the map around, or right-click and drag as per usual, and zoom with that. Okay, that's you. But how can you fly that craft, even though you can't see which way it's facing or anything? Well, look at this little triangle down here. Click that. Boop. Opens your nav ball. But, and this is my experience, when entering orbit, you want to see the map to see if you've made orbit, but you haven't got the time to get your cursor, click on the button, and it's a bit fiddly sometimes. If you press the decimal key on your keyboard, boop, pops up anyway. Just makes your life a little bit easier. Just the decimal key on your keyboard under the number pad, just toggles up and down. Very useful. Now, as you can see, we are here and we are currently pointing almost at the yellow circle. The yellow circle is prograde. So prograde, there we go. We are now locked onto prograde. I can also just use my WASD keys, as we said before. Power is good. Yep, good. Okay. Now, the thing I want about before is we need to learn some advanced controls. Not too advanced, just get you started. We want to go to the Mun. M-U-N, Mun. That's where we want to go. Now, if we were to go, I can just point at that and burn. No. No, you don't do that. Now, we will talk about Hoffman transfers and stuff like that later on. which I'm not going to go into too much detail now, but I'm going to show you the controls we'll be using when it comes to that time. Now, the way it works is, if you put your cursor, back in again, cursor around this map, the little blue ball just sort of tracks behind your cursor. I can't really see it too much, but it's there. It's a little faint ball. Just appears when your cursor's near it. If you click there, you get add a maneuver. And the maneuver brings this little guy up. Now this little guy is all of the symbols on your nav ball. It's got the prograde, the retrograde, your nominal, anti-nominal, radial, and anti-radials. And if it tells you, if you were to use those, what would it do to the craft? So if I said, I want to burn my engine prograde, and I drag that forward. Okay, now I drag that forward, that immediately says, okay, if I burn my engine for 471 meters per second, they'll take approximately 29 seconds. The calculation can be wrong, it sometimes can be way out. In approximately 30 minutes, because that means I have to go right around there first, my orbit, which is the blue line, will change from that point forward to be on that orange line. See? So it's just saying I can change my orbit like that. But the same way, if I said, okay, well, what if we were to burn radial at the same time? There we go. Let's bring that back a bit. There we go. Now, the same thing happens, except now the orbit's leaning. Because we burn up as well. So we actually said we're going to burn forward and up at the same time, so we're burning diagonally. And the craft will slowly go into an angled orbit. That's very useful later. But it's all about what can I do and how can I do it. So if we just say here, oh, I want to go to the moon, which is here right now. Well, I need to burn my engines about here. And I want to burn prograde forward. Go faster and faster and faster and higher and higher and higher. And then, boop. And the way you do it is just get yourself, there we go. Now, control-wise, that was I knew where to place that. I'll explain all that in the going to other planets section. But got different colours. The way the colours work is blue is your current orbit if you make no changes. Orange is your orbit after you make the maneuvered burn. Up here we have a purple. Purple is the colour of the orbit when we change into the sphere of influence. I know it's getting complicated. It is sometimes. Into the sphere of influence of another body like the moon. That means we're no longer under control of Kerbin's gravity. We're now in control by the moon's gravity. And then the green is what happens when we leave. If we don't do anything else, we'll leave the moon's gravity and we end back up into this orbit. So it's very colour coordinated, we'll go with. But that's the basic controls. Now let's just sort of prove that if you wish. We'll just swing ourselves around. Now we can do, using the comma and period keys, we can time warp. Now this is up here as well. We can just go, could we do 4 times warp? 5 times warp. It keeps telling me I can't go faster because I want to keep going faster, but it won't let me. And we just bring it around to here. And you see here, 5 minutes until the node, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, stop. And pointing prograde. Now I'm going to say this one here, point towards my maneuver. Point to where I want to be pointing to burn this maneuver. Very useful when doing maneuvers. It says here, it's a 52-second burn. Now the way you do burns, you can do half your burn before and half your burn after. Because you're not going to do it all in one go. So if it's a 52-second burn, we'll round that up for convenience to 1 minute. So we'll do it at 30 seconds. So at the 30-second mark, we fire the engine. We do 30 seconds before, 30 seconds afterwards, and we're done. We use the Z key to fire the engine. Go back to map normal roll from it. Just go, there we go. And there's the ship. Nothing special. It's just doing its job. Floating in space. And then we'll say, okay, fire the engine into 1. There's the engine firing. And you can see our maneuver counter is going down. And the amount of fuel we need to burn. And also this little yellow line is decreasing. Go back to the map. You also see that our blue line, our current orbit, is changing. It is increasing. And if we put cursor over the AP or the... Okay, we have to see what the symbol is. But if we put cursor over the little symbols, it tells you what the actual orbit level is and how long it takes you to get there. So it's increasing very, very rapidly. Zoom out and we see how it increases. Now I'm going to press the X key in just a second to stop the burn. But that will... that's just so we can do the last piece very, very finely. So we're burning, and ready, stop. Now I just stopped it a little bit because it was 3.1 meters per second out. If we just do a little shift just to speed up a little bit, and then X again. There we go. Now you notice that our orbit matches what we actually planned. We just press that little cross just there to get rid of the plan, and there we go. Now, we could press the comma and period keys to time warp out that way and have a good old look out there, or we could just click up here and go click on the AP. Oh, there we go, and warp here. And it automatically takes us to that spot and stops us from going too far when we get there. Now, we just go in here. We should be able to see the moon. There it is, and it's going to come towards us. See? Coming towards us. But before we do, let's zoom in. First thing, that little weird blip there, that doesn't actually happen. That's just relatively what it looks like from the Kerbin's point of view. But from the moon's point of view, it's completely different. And we'll show you that in a second. But this little symbol here, this is change of orbit, change of sphere of influence, little symbol there. We're going from the Kerbin sphere of influence into the Mun's sphere of influence. Now, we can see that's where we're going to be when we leave, and that's where we are now. The blue is now. And we're going to get very close to the Mun. This is our closest approach to the Perisips. It is indeed. And it is a gorgeous place. The moon is a gorgeous, gorgeous place. Hello, moon. How are you doing today? Goodbye, moon. See you later. And then we get back onto our normal orbit here. Back to blue. And then we're going to go home. Now, we are, actually, you can see that we have apoaps, but we don't have a periaps. That is because, very simply, we're going to crash into the planet. If we just swing our camera around. We will hit the surface. I can't really show it very well here without zooming out too far. Okay, we're going to hit the surface. Tab. Mid-Mun. Kerbin. Thank you. Tab, by the way, lets you toggle between with the bodies. Now, if we look at our right now, I did actually press the button by accident, but okay. Our orbit's going to go boom, straight into there. That's not a good place to be going. So if we say burn prograde, because we are way out there right now. We burn prograde and we burn forward. Our orbit expands. We never did make orbit really. So, boop, there we go. And we now have a periaps of 23 kilometers. The 23 kilometers is in the atmosphere and it will kill us. But it is enough to show off the next stage. Time warp. Time warp, time warp, time warp. There we go. Alright. The delete key, the backspace key, one above the enter, will always focus you back onto your main craft in map mode. In the game, in this mode, it fires the abort sequence. So, you know, be careful with it. Okay, go into land, point your ship retrograde. And time warp down. I'm not going to bring it all the way in and show you all the landing and stuff because that's for the next episode. But, ooh, nice. Red symbol lets you know it's dangerous to deploy. We're just going to fire the engine, burn up some of the speed that we can, because, you know, we need to get rid of some of the speed. And there we go. There's our heat reheat. So let's kill that and just drop it off. Have we dropped it off? Not yet. Okay. Goodbye! Okay. So while we go into our re-entry effects, let's just quickly talk about controls. So we've been through the WASD QE for pitch, yaw, roll, and whatnot. So that's very, very useful. Exploding. We've done the H, N, J, K, L, and I for lateral movements and whatnots, for docking purposes mostly. And we've gone through the maneuver nodes and the controls. They are a bit flaky and picky and stuff, but you get used to playing with them, but just have fun with them. Play with them. They are very, very helpful. Now this thing, by the way, is a warning that we're getting very hot. It's warning me that the capsule is getting hot, and we should be very, very careful we don't blow up. And it's entirely possible if we have no heat shield, this craft could blow up. Because we came back very, very hard from the moon. But I don't think we will. I think we'll be fine. But while we come down, I'm going to leave it there and say in the next episode we'll be talking about probably get into orbit, how to get to orbit. And we'll do that in the next episode. But for now, all I can really say is comment in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in orbit.